بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
السلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتدى بهداه. أما بعد، قال الإمام الحافظ أبو عيسى الترمذي رحمه الله: باب حدثنا محمود بن غيلان قال أخبرنا أبو داود قال أنبأنا شعبة عن أبي إسحاق قال سمعت أبا الأحوص يحدث عن عبد الله أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يدعو: اللهم إني أسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. هذا حديث حسن صحيح. In the chapter of Supplications narrated from the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, and the 73rd chapter or subchapter, at-Trimidhi rahimahullah, hadith number 3719, he says, reported to us from Mahmud ibn Ghaylan, related to us Abu Dawood, from Shu'bah, from Abi Ishaq, who heard Abu al-Ahwas narrate from Abdullah, meaning Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, that the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu used to supplicate, and he would say in his supplications, Allahumma, O Allah, inni as'aluka al-huda, I ask you for huda, wa tuqa, I ask you for huda and tuqa, wal afafa wal ghina, and I also ask you for afaf and ghina. At-Tirmidhi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says this hadith is hasanun sahih, a sound and solid narration. Al-Hafidh al-Mubarak-Furi rahimahullah, he says, قوله اللهم إني أسألك الهدى والتقى أي الهداية والتقوى. The word huda and tuqa means hidayah, guidance, and tuqa means taqwa. In other words, Abu Hamza, a different way of saying it. Instead of saying hidayah, a person can say huda or hadi. And then we have tuqa, which is taqwa. He says, so this means hidayah, guidance, and taqwa. The word taqwa is often translated to mean piety, but it's much deeper than piety in Arabic, let alone in Islam. The word taqwa has a greater depth than just sheer piety. He says, قال الطيبي أطلق الهدى والتقى ليتناول كل ما ينبغي أن يهتدى إليه من أمر المعاش والمعاد ومكارم الأخلاق وكل ما يجب أن يتقى منه من الشرك والمعاصي ورذائل الأخلاق. The Prophet ﷺ, in his hadith, he mentioned these two terms unconditionally, without any restrictions. He asked Allah for what? Huda and tuqa. Guidance towards what? Taqwa towards what or from what? He left it unconditional. He left it unconditional. He left it open. And the purpose behind this is for it to include everything that a person is or wishes to be guided towards. Everything that a person wishes to be guided towards. Every type of guidance, from affairs of the ma'ash, the worldly, day-to-day, buying and selling, eating and drinking, paying your bills. Oh Lord, guide me to be responsible. Guide me to be financially independent. Whatever that means, because no one is 101% independent. There's always some need for the next man, one way or another. You have your own business, and the list goes on. But there's relative independence, without a doubt. There's relative independence. Everybody understand this? Anything that is a means of guidance in the dunya. Allah allow me to be clean. Allow me to have the money to take care of my wife and my children. For me to have a roof over my head, a comfortable roof, and the list goes on. Any type of guidance of the worldly needs and necessities. And also he says, wal ma'ad, and of resurrection, the qabr, being put in the grave, the fitna of the grave, the questioning in the grave, the torment of the grave, resurrection, Jannah, Jahannam, the Sirat, and the list goes on. He then says, وَمَكَارِمِ الْأَخْلَاقِ, and all of the good character, being honest and truthful, being brave and courageous, standing up for the haqq, being humble, being patient, being courteous, being tolerant, being mindful of others, and the list goes on of anything which is khuluq hasan in Islam. Also, everything that a person should fear and protect himself from, because the word taqwa literally means protection. What should a person ward off from himself? Of shirk, major and minor, outward, public, hidden, shirk of the tongue, shirk of the heart, shirk of the actions, showing off, wishing to be seen by men, any type of shirk. He says, wal ma'asi, and all types of sins. Any type of sin that a person makes, a sin that people know about, a sin that's behind closed doors, a sin that you're struggling with, that you're battling with, whatever the case may be. وَرَذَائِلِ الْأَخْلَاقِ, and having low base character, being a liar, being a cheat, being two-faced, being a gossiper, being a slanderer, being a coward, being a womanizer, anything that's radil, anything that is a radila, that is low and that is base and it isn't high and exalted, how a Muslim man should be. There should be no Muslim man who lies. There should be a Muslim man who's afraid, who's weak. There should be no Muslim man that has two faces. There should be no Muslim man who gossips, who slanders. There should be no Muslim man who takes advantage of women, or takes advantage of children, or takes advantage of other weaker men. That's not a strong Muslim man. Everybody understand this? A Muslim man should be kareem. He should be kareem. He then says, وَطَلَبَ الْعَفَافِ وَالْغِنَى تَخْصِيصٌ بَعْدَ تَعْمِيمٍ انْتَهَى. And then the Prophet ﷺ, he asked for what, Uwais? After, for huda and tuqa, he asked for what? Afaf, and then ghina. Afaf and ghina. We're not going to translate those terms, not yet. He says the Prophet ﷺ is now specifying things after he generalized things. Because afaf and ghina is a part of guidance and taqwa, tuqa. Everybody understand this? And there are many, many ayat and a hadith like this. It's an important style in Islam. Allah oftentimes, he mentions specific things after what? General things. Or sometimes general then what? Specific. Everybody understand this? There are many examples of this in the Quran and in the Sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min. What do you say in your tashahhud? Before you salam out. Which of us is on the Sunnah and tashahhud? The Prophet ﷺ told us to make this dua. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in how many things? What was the first thing in Arabic? Min? Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr. That's first.
Death. Your life and death.
What's that in Arabic? You seek refuge in Allah from life and death?
And death. Fitna of death.
Fitna al-mahya wal-mamat. That's first. Then what else?
About the terminal grave.
In Arabic, what's the supplication? You don't make this in your salat every day? La ilaha illallah. Min adhab al-qabr wa min adhab jahannam wa min fitnat al-mahya wal-mamat. The first one you mentioned last, what is this? Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min. What about the Masih Dajjal?
That's the last.
Al-Muhim. We need to make sure that we sharpen our what? Our tools. We go to the shed of supplications and what, Shaykh Khan? Sharpen it, right? You got to sharpen up the cutlass, right? The cutlass has to be what? Has to be sharpened, huh? Al-Muhim is that Adhab al-Qabr is from the fitna of what? Death. The Dajjal is from the fitna of what? Life. The torment of Jahannam is from the fitna of, or from the, everybody understand this? There's general and there's what? Specific. But that's a whole topic in itself. Moving on, he says, Al-Afaf wal-Ghina, Al-Afaf wal-Iffa, huwa at-tanazzuhu amma la yubahu wal-kaffu anhu. As far as Afaf, then it is a person to remove himself, or remove herself from that which is unlawful. Whether you translate it to mean chastity, piety, al-muhim is iffa, is that you're chaste from eating the haram, enjoying the haram, tasting the haram, being with the haram, whatever is unlawful. Ma la yubah, that which is what is not mubah. It has a prescription. It's prescribed to be what? Unlawful. He then says, wal ghina ha huna ghina an-nafs wal istighna' an an-nas wa amma fi aydihim. And what's meant by ghina is richness of the soul, richness of one's essence, richness of self. It's for a person not to be a millionaire, but to be a millionaire in their what? In their hearts. To be a millionaire in their own self, and to do away with the people have in their hands. And there are many people like this, they're poor, but they wish to be rich. And they criticize the rich, they criticize the wealthy, but as soon as they get the money, what do? They may do even worse. Or they may even want to do the foolishness of some of the rich spendthrift people. How you spent $3 million on $1 million on this, but then when they get the money, what they do? The same thing. And then there's some poor people that are content with what they have. They're content. Alhamdulillah, I'm fine with this. I'm not greedy, I'm not begging, I'm not jealous, I'm not envious. I'm pleased with what Allah gave me. Everybody understand this? Because they're rich in their souls. And there are people who possess millions and they are masakin, they're poor. If you ever drive a limousine or a taxi, you get, or especially a limousine, you may have some very rich people you're driving around. And you see how hasty they are, how rude they are, how stingy they are, how dirty they are. And they have millions of dollars at their fingertips. And they won't even give you a $5, $10 tip. Just talk to people that drive limousines. They'll tell you this. And you find some people who may have millions or less than millions, and they are generous in their tips. But there are many people, they are filthy rich, and they don't want to give an extra $5 for any service. They don't want to give an extra $10. I'm not making this up. They don't want to, period. Or you go to a restaurant and you tip the waiter, and the waiter looks like, whoa, thanks a lot. Just $20. In other words, Jamil, he's used to what? Not getting tipped. And it's a high-end restaurant. I've experienced it's a high-end restaurant. He looks like, thanks a lot. You even consider enough to give me a tip. So this guy who's spending $300 on a meal, they have a special banquet, all of their money, and they're barely giving a tip because they're cheap and they're poor, even though they have so much money. But their nafs is what? Is miskina. Everybody understand this? He then says, rahimahullah ta'ala, and to do away with what the people have and what is in their hands. قَوْلُ هَذَا حَدِيثٌ حَسَنٌ صَحِيحٌ وَأَخْرَجَهُ مُسْلِمٌ وَابْنُ مَاجَهُ. This hadith is also collected by Imam Muslim and by Imam Ibn Majah, rahimahullah ta'ala. Wallahu a'lam.